The Gaza Strip has been under ceaseless attack since October 7th. All of the fleeing Palestinians have actually moved from northern and central Gaza Strip into southern Gaza Strip to this location, this area called Rafah. It's the last really remaining safe zone inside the Gaza Strip. Do not be the next country to be guilty of committing genocide, Israel. Don't let Americans watch you commit genocide, because the whole reason the world has always supported the Jews was because of what happened in World War II when genocide was levied against you. Before I get into today's conversation, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Aura. Aura is a cybersecurity company for the everyday person, and it is absolutely a service that I take advantage of in my everyday life. Aura helps keep me and my family safe on our mobile devices, on our personal devices, in our bank accounts, on the dark web, and in so many other ways. Aura, genuinely, we thank you for what you do. You are best in class. You're a service that we appreciate. And for everybody listening right now, if you visit the link in our description right now, Aura is offering you a 2-week complimentary trial of the same service that my wife and I use to keep our family safe. So go ahead, jump in the description, click that link, and go get your 2-week trial right now. For everybody else, let's start the conversation. There is an absolute disaster getting ready to occur between Israel and Hamas as we speak. The ground assault on Rafah in southern Gaza Strip, simply put, cannot happen. It absolutely must not happen the way that Israel is promising that it will happen. The UN, South Africa, France, Germany, the United States, everyone who has any sort of alliance or partnership with Israel has come to the table to say that the Rafah ground assault must not happen. For those of you who don't know what the Rafah assault is, the Gaza Strip has been under ceaseless attack since October 7th. In the 130-ish days since the Israel-Hamas war broke out, all of the fleeing Palestinians have actually moved from northern and central Gaza Strip into southern Gaza Strip to this location, this area called Rafah, which is right on the Egyptian border. It's the last really remaining safe zone inside the Gaza Strip. And the Israelis are calling it the last holdout, the last bastion, the last place where Hamas militants are hiding. Perhaps that is true. Perhaps there are thousands of militants. Perhaps there are dozens of militants. Nobody knows for sure, and Israel isn't telling us how many viable targets they believe are in Rafah. But they are planning a full-on Rafah assault, which will kill thousands more innocent Palestinians. It will kill more women. It will kill more children. It will add to the humanitarian crisis already happening throughout Gaza Strip. This mustn't happen. According to the UN and according to the international criminal law, justice and law circuit, a attack on Rafah will constitute a violation of genocide promises and genocide legal definitions inside Israel against Palestinians. Now, if you recall, back in January, South Africa successfully filed a claim that the UN supported that forced Israel to stop taking actions that could lead to the genocide of the Palestinian people. That means that in the eyes of the international community, in the eyes of the UN, in the eyes of all civilized democratic countries, Israel's attacks against Palestinian enclaves that house Hamas militants, those attacks are or can lead to the genocide of the Palestinian people. Because of the UN's decision to uphold the claim by South Africa, Israel is now very, very close to being on the precipice of openly creating war crimes, openly violating war crimes that constitute genocide. The last time we saw full-blown genocide in the world was during the Rwandan Civil War under the Clinton administration, when the Hutus systematically killed Tutsis, which were the minority population in Rwanda. That conflict also lasted about 100 days. And inside that conflict, they estimate between 500 and 800,000 Tutsis were killed by the Hutu oppressors. So here we have yet again another instance of possible genocide happening in a country that is allied with the United States, Israel, where an American president simply isn't taking responsibility to drive that ally to take reasonable and responsible action. In 1994, I believe, that president was President Clinton, who went on to say that his biggest regret throughout his entire presidency was not acting in a way that protected and prevented the genocide in Rwanda. Now we have President Biden, another liberal president in control of the United States, who has the responsibility of trying to rein in Israel, who is simply not taking enough action to prevent another genocide that could happen right here in February of 2024. It's unbelievable, folks. What we're seeing happen right now in history is unfortunately not unprecedented, because it has happened before. It has happened almost the exact same way that is happening now. You have seen, we've seen the International Criminal Court, we have seen the UN, we have seen France, Germany, we have seen leaders around the world of democratic countries come up to say to Israel openly, an attack in Rafah will not be forgiven in the eyes of history. They have come out to say that what is happening here constitutes a humanitarian crisis and genocide. They have said that this is sheer, unadulterated hate that is coming from Israel being directed towards innocent Palestinians in this effort to pursue what Netanyahu is saying, the eradication of Hamas. Let's be honest, people. Let's be honest, Israel. Coming from an American who fought in the global war on terror, you will never defeat Hamas. It will never happen. The United States did not defeat Al-Qaeda. The United States did not defeat ISIS. Islamic extremism still exists in the world today because it's like a virus. It's a disease. The harder you fight it, the more you change and adapt to destroy it, the more it mutates. It goes underground, it transforms, it runs away, and then it comes back when you least expect it. You won't defeat Hamas. I know that Netanyahu made the promise to the Israeli people that he will destroy Hamas. I also know that Zelensky made the promise to the Ukrainian people that he's going to restore Ukraine's original pre-Soviet era borders. I also know that 1,000 different presidents have made promises to the American people that simply never came true. But right now, Israel, you are on the verge of committing genocide through the eyes of the International Criminal Court. Don't attack. Don't launch this assault in Rafah. Don't destroy those lives. Realize that you have the opportunity now to take the entire world's opinion of you and transform it in a moment. You can literally transform your strategy today and regain popular support from the entire international community. But right now, the actions that you are taking are in line with what you've been doing since October 7th, and it has cost you the support of the international community. There is so much confusion in the world right now about what's happening in Israel, and it breaks down to something very, very simple. Israel is trying to carry out an impossible task. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to rescue hostages that were taken by Hamas. That is an honorable thing to do. But systematically destroying enclaves of civilians in a humanitarian crisis where you already know women and children are starving and dying because of a lack of food, water, electricity, medical support, that is not how you destroy extremism. That is how you guarantee future generations of extremists. Learn from the mistakes of the United States and change your tactics now. Do not be the next country to be guilty of committing genocide, Israel. Don't let Americans watch you commit genocide, because the whole reason the world has always supported the Jews was because of what happened in World War II when genocide was levied against you. Don't let yourself be the next cycle of this ridiculous, incessant violence, this depravity of humankind. You don't have to do this, Israel. Do not launch the ground assault in Rafah. For the rest of you who are watching this unfold, recognize that what you are seeing right now in Israel is sheer terror. It's sheer hatred. It's sheer anger. It's the place where politics and people split. Netanyahu is so afraid of losing political power. The far right side of Israel is so afraid of their people thinking that they're weak, that they are completely abandoning the perspective of understanding that people are still people. Palestinian, Muslim, Jew, Israeli, American, French, German, we're all just people. People trying to create a life, people trying to protect our children, people trying to protect our wives and our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers, trying to build a legacy to give the next generation something better than we have. And right now, for the last 130 days, the Palestinians living in Gaza have had that opportunity taken from them. They've had it taken from them in the very realistic and very valid pursuit of the fight against extremism. However, that fight has bled too far into collateral damage, or the damage of civilians, civilian infrastructure, and other innocent people. Watch carefully what's happening right now. You watcher right now, Israel, if you're watching, Netanyahu, if you're listening to me, which you probably aren't, anybody who is hearing this right now, watch carefully what happens in the next few days and potentially the next few weeks, because it will set the stage for how the world looks at Israel for the next decade. If Israel invades in Rafah and commits genocide of the Palestinian people, if the UN determines that it was a violation of just war law, a violation of human rights, if that happens, we will see a completely different next decade of international relations with Israel, which is exactly what Iran wants to happen. It is exactly what China wants to happen. Every enemy of the free world, every authoritarian regime is watching Israel literally transform from a democracy into an authoritarian regime, and they are waiting to see if the genocide happens, if this attack in Rafah happens, contrary to the guidance of every democratic partner, every democratic ally that Israel has right now standing in its corner. Please learn from history. You, me, Israel, everybody watching, everybody listening to this message, learn from history and find a better way to combat the extremist threat than what is happening now. This is a very timely message. I want you all to watch the headlines. I want you all to see what's happening for yourself. Come to your own conclusions. The reason South Africa is so heavily involved in what's happening right now is because there is no country in the world that understands apartheid better than South Africa. And the Human Rights Council has judged what happens against Palestinians in Israel as apartheid. So we are already in a place where legal definitions, international court systems, law and order have all defined what's happening in Israel against the Palestinians as unjust. This potential genocide with an attack in Rafah is the last straw. It is the place where history changes forever. Don't lose the opportunity to save and prevent this from happening now. If you have a voice, use it and encourage Israel to take a different path. If you are anybody in any kind of leadership, use your influence now to make a statement that says Israel needs a different path than a ground assault in Rafah. This is not going to give you the result that you want, Israel. And for the rest of us who are cheering on democracy every day, we are literally watching as Hamas and Iran systematically challenge and disassemble the beautiful democracy that has always been in Israel. If they take this step towards genocide, we are watching as the democracy in Israel is perverted and mutated into something very different and something very sad. Even the Israeli people don't want that to happen. It is their government and their politicians who are calling the shots, and we are seeing it happen in an international stage in real time. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much to Aura for sponsoring this. Again, folks, take a chance to visit our sponsor at aura.com/EverydaySpy, or click in the description below to visit the sponsor link. They made this happen. They took the time. They're a fantastic cybersecurity service for me and my family, and they are strong believers in the message that we are trying to communicate to the world about the truth around keeping yourself safe and protecting the legacy for yourself and for your family. I'll see you next time, folks.